Now let's move on to our next topic, and indeed we want to speak about the band from TNA, of course formerly the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Now this week on TNA Impact last Thursday night, and TNA now gone back to Thursday nights with their tail between their legs, I think, but at least some good decisions made, where this week we saw the new tag team champions crowned as Kevin Nash and Scott Hall with their new member Eric Young. Of course, Sean Waltman out of the picture now apparently after no showing that pay-per-view, but it looks like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall along with Eric Young, they're going to be the new tag champs. And yes, it's time to give those guys something. They've been there long enough now. I think Nash has long since proved himself to be a stayer. And now Scott Hall, we have to say it, he hasn't no-showed events. He's been there every time. Those guys deserve it. And let's see it going for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's a strange one that they gave the belts to the two boys. Because, if anything, I would have expected Hall and Waltman to have the titles, but again, if Sean's going to no-show, then I'm sure Dixie isn't going to hack that and a swift boot out the door as it goes. But I think this will be kind of transitional stuff. I don't see these boys holding on to the belts for long because I know probably Scott he is behaving himself, but at the same time, I don't see this being a long title run, and they need to get the straps on the young guys that can actually work and aren't a little bit over the limit like Hall and Nash are.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction to it is to see these guys, it just brings you back, doesn't it? It gives you that nostalgic, sentimental feeling. But like you say, I mean, it's all been about sentimentality and nostalgia recently. We're talking about guys who were big a long time ago. As you say, it's time now to give new guys the belts. And if that is the device they're using to get those belts off the former holders, who of course, Matt Morgan and nobody, quite simply, have now lost those belts. And yeah, I mean, Matt Morgan, should he ever have had them? I gotta think there was something going on in the back there with Hernandez. I mean, he was pushed out of that mix very quickly.
Yeah, it was. It's messy. It's a lot of the booking and a lot of the week-to-week TV kind of gets very messy in TNA, and we've seen it over and over, especially in the last couple of weeks, with things being picked up and things dropped storyline-wise. But I kind of think the Morgan thing was funny, and they should have ran with it for another bit. It was just getting to be very entertaining, and kind of it was winning me over. I was never really a fan, but yeah, it was short-lived, and unless he comes back into the title picture and gets his rematch or whatever. But again, I don't see that happening with the likes of Inc. that are shaking up the territory down there.
That's exactly it. New tag team champions. And of course, this week on Impact, we had that tag team 4-way where we had Beer Money, we had Inc., we had Team 3D, and who else? Motor City Machine Guns. Those were the other guys in there. And I have to say, when I saw this 4-way going on, I looked at Beer Money and I saw a legit tag team. I looked over at Motor City Machine Guns. Have to say the same. I mean, I've never been a big fan, but TNA really do have tag teams. And to say that those belts mean something is probably a high put over. I mean, I think they do, as opposed to the WWE ones.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's soul in those belts, I think, and there's no soul in those unified tag team titles over with the Big Fish and WWE.
Yeah, what have they done with those tag team belts recently? WWE have no interest in them. I mean, we know they've switched hands a few times recently, and we'll speak about that later. But personally, I'm happy. The belts in TNA, the tag team belts, certainly have a position, and they have importance now. And I am disappointed that Sean Waltman appears to be out of the mix, because he was carrying the load for those guys.
Yeah, he was, and he's still got it. I think he still works well, and he was always kind of good on the mic too. It's just a shame that he messed it up, but then again, you just can never tell.
I mean, Eric Young, he has fallen into a great position, and Eric Young, I think he was waiting there in the back for this to happen, because he's been working with Nash for quite a while now. I'm starting to think maybe those guys are friends backstage as well. But yeah, Eric Young, at least he's found a position. But then, let's face it, we've had Super Eric, we've had him in all sorts of different guises. Eric has never been without a position. And I have heard it said that some of those guys in the office in TNA are very favourable towards Eric Young. You got to wonder why an Eric Young would get the push when you've got Samoa Joe sitting there. I mean, wouldn't Joe have been far more legit with the band?
He would, but I think it's maybe just giving him a spot, giving Eric a spot, put him in with the band and keep him happy. I mean, obviously he doesn't really fit in, and he's just kind of like that, I don't know, he was kind of like the Paul White of the NWO, I suppose. Would probably be the best way to sum it up. But he just, I don't know, it's just a little spot to keep a smile on his face and keep him happy that he's on TV.